Robot Building Supplies. Robots got it and deliver. robotbuildingsupplies.com.au. Master Builders Victoria. Membership provides free industrial relations support. Join today from just $1.40 a day.
Drive with Bob Murphy and Andy Marr.
Great to have you with us. Great to have Dermot in the studio. More of your calls after 5 Pox Rocks, of course. Where's Agar still to join us and tell us about the allegiance he has to the Western Bulldogs and how he ended up in the cheer squad over there at the Adelaide Oval the other night. But we don't often segue into motorsport on a Monday afternoon, such as the predominance of footy. But
we had Dick Johnson on the show before.
Nah, not on a Monday. I don't reckon.
No, that's true.
But this has been a pretty big weekend. Tim Hodges is our go-to when it comes to this sort of stuff. Great friend of the show. Daniel Ricciardo's, I don't know whether there's many more that you'd like to win, Hodgie, but the Monza and the Italian Grand Prix, if you had to rank 1, 2, 3, that'd probably be on the podium, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no doubt. G'day, Bob. G'day, Andy.
G'day, Tim.
Is Derm still there?
He's just left.
Monaco is the crown jewel. And the good news for Daniel is he's been able to tick that off as a victory. But Monza is right up there. And even just to be on the podium for Daniel Ricciardo is a huge tick after, he's had a horrible 3.5 years, guys. Especially this year, the year that was supposed to be his rise back into being competitive and contending again, which hasn't worked to date. But gee whiz, it did last night. And I'm so pleased for him. And I think... I think Aussie sports fans are pleased for him. I think the Formula One, everyone in that paddock is really pleased because he's such a likeable guy. He's a great salesman for the sport, and for him, he hasn't been relevant for now 3 years.
But Tim,
this has been huge for him.
Tim, you tipped him to win this race. Where does your confidence in Daniel Ricciardo? Where is it? Has it been long held?
Well, I think. Because he qualified on the front row was huge for him, and because he's got nothing to lose, all he wants to do is win races. That's why I thought he could be a serious chance to win last night, because Max Verstappen is more worried about Lewis Hamilton right now, and he was never going to get into, put the elbows out and fight Daniel Ricciardo for the victory, and that's how it played out off the first turn, and Ricciardo led through the first chicane, and really from then on, I know it was a bloody nervous watch for everyone who stayed up till 12:30 to watch till the end. You just thought, I hope this stays together for him. I hope his teammates steers clear of him. And then there was the charging pack, whether it was Verstappen or Hamilton or Hamilton's teammate Bottas, that were all coming for him, that thankfully he held on. But I just thought it could be a day that he could, I don't know, just climb back onto the top step of the podium, get some confidence, because, he's been racing without any for 3 years. He left Red Bull, guys, went to Renault, and it's hard to feel sorry for a bloke who was getting paid way over. It's like he was getting paid nearly $25 million a year. But it was, probably the two best years of his racing career that he should have been contending for, consistent race wins, consistent podiums, even been a chance for a championship, which is what drives him. And he's been nowhere in what was the Renault, which was a disastrous 2 years.
So will this be the corner turn now for him, Tim? Do you reckon?
Nice.
I really hope it is. Because that McLaren is a good car. Clearly, they've got a Mercedes engine, which is a great engine. Clearly. And I think it's just taken him way too long, taking him half a season to get his head around this new car, the new McLaren, where he's come from. I think he was, his confidence was battered and bruised after 2 really uncompetitive years at Renault. So I hope I can say to you guys that, 8 months it's taken, but finally he's ticked the boxes. His confidence is back up. He knows that, he's got the talent, and, I hope more race wins come, and I hope he can hit next year and be a serious force in the sport, because, the way things were rolling out, and there was even talk in the last month that, he was racing for his seat. He's got a long-term contract at McLaren, but Formula One teams are famous for flicking blokes who are uncompetitive. So I'm so pleased that he's been able to, not only get on the podium, but to win the damn race. And, who knows what this can mean for the second half of his season. Still 7 to 8 races remaining in this year's schedule. We're still not sure exactly how many races there are with the COVID restrictions, but hopefully he can set him up really well for a serious tilt at 2022.
Tim, there was a nasty crash between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. How lucky is Lewis to still be with us?
Well, it was a halo that came into the sport a couple of years ago, guys, and people hated, and that's the thing that sits just above the helmets of the drivers, and a lot of people whinged that it made Formula One cars, which is supposed to be the most slick and fantastic race cars on earth, look unbelievably ugly. And, to be honest, it does make them look unbelievably ugly, but it can save lives. And you saw last night when Verstappen landed on what would have been Lewis's helmet, that halo was there to stop the car from falling on top of him. So just a serious grandstand finish for that to happen for Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, who this is a heavyweight title fight. It's as good as Formula One can get with two guys from two different teams who they hate each other's guts. The two teams hate each other, and they've clashed now a number of times on track this year. Max leads Lewis by 5 points, and that's it. And still 7 to 8 races to go. But it's as good as Formula One can be when two guys are duking it out like this. And it takes me back to when I was growing up. Senna and Prost was the ultimate. I remember that Senna movie. People used to say to me, was it really that spiteful? It was really that spiteful, and it is absolutely as that spiteful between Hamilton and Verstappen for this year's championship.
Well, it's a miracle that he's going to be driving for the rest of it. It's a miracle that he hasn't got spinal damage. You talk about the apparatus and the protective chassis.
Over his head,
mate. There is a photo that I'm sure most of you will see between now and the end of the day. You cannot believe that Lewis Hamilton's basically walked away from that relatively unharmed. I'm sure he's going to have some bruises and a stiff neck, but it's extraordinary. Hey, before we let you go, you've got to tell us about this Oscar Piastri. We don't spend any time talking F2 ever, but it's been a red letter day for Australian motorsport with Ricciardo and now this younger fella. What should we know about him, Tim?
Well, he's a Melbourne boy, and can I be honest? And I love motorsport. I hadn't heard of him before last year when he moved to Europe as a young boy. He showed unbelievable form in karting and Formula Ford, and he made it to Formula 3. And in his first year in the sport last year, he won the championship. This is 2 rungs below Formula 1. He was promoted immediately to Formula 2, and last night had his first feature race win. He leads the Formula 2 championship, so that's 1 rung below Formula 1. So he's just he's an unbelievable talent, and it's a young kid that you've never really heard of, and he's going to be Australia's next Formula 1 driver, and that could be as soon as next year. So the trajectory he's on is astronomical, and it's awesome to see. But the talent he has is quite unbelievable for him to have so much success so early in his career, to have won the F3 title in his first year in the sport, to be leading this year's F2 title, and he's not fazed by anything. And I could see him being in Formula 1, maybe, if things go his way, as soon as next year alongside Daniel Ricciardo, which would be unbelievable. Well,
there's another name to keep our eye on, mate. Oscar Piastri is the name. Thanks. We always come to you when we need to talk motorsport, and it's great to have access to you. Thanks for giving us a few minutes this afternoon.
No worries. Good to talk motorsport with you, fellas.
Good on you
too,
Timmy.
Timmy Hodges, who absolutely loves it. Great friend of the program, and he asked us to ask the question about him tipping Daniel Ricciardo last night. So just putting that.
I knew that.
Yeah. A break. Pox Rocks, Wes Agar, your calls, 1300 736 736.